Some Commanders fans come to the Colts house. And while things looked scary for the visitors, a late trick by a hometown hero was a true treat for Washington.
I know, like I said last week, I'm going to get a lot of the attention, the accolades, but Taylor giving me a chance to make another play, O-line holding up the way they did, defense got turnovers, Tress and the special teams flipping the field. I mean, it was just a great team winning.
What to make of this win streak and getting ready for another homecoming? This one from a distant cousins. You like that? On Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus.
The man
Call
is
somebody,
back,
call
y'all.
somebody.
He's
We're back. Call
He's
your
back.
mama, call your daddy.
We're back and we're back.
We're back.
Tony McGee,
He's back, y'all.
We're back. Tony
Hey.
McGee.
Come on. Tony McGee, Pro Football Plus. Tony McGee, Pro Football Plus. Tony McGee, Pro Football Plus. Tony McGee.
Welcome to Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus. This is our Super Bowl defensive line edition. I bought in the horses, I bought in the mules, I bought in the animals that made it all happen. And I tell you what, these guys right now, they can get a few sacks right now, but we're not talking about that. The Washington team now has won 3 in a row. In the ghetto, when we playing a little bit of dominance, we say 3 licks in the timber, and the woods went wild. And we'll be back because we're going wild. Welcome back. As I told you, this is an exciting show for me. I was part of 2 Super Bowls, got an opportunity to play with these guys. And one thing I can tell you about each and every guy meant a great deal to me during the course of my career, during the course of trying to go to the Super Bowl. You say, well, who are these guys? Well, we got Superman, we got Batman, we got Oh, no, that's right. We got the first man I talk about is the man that sent me packing. When I saw him, I knew that I was on my way out. Matter of fact, he came in the room and bought my suitcase with me. With him, his name is C-Rock Charles, man. Greatest defensive end I've seen in a long time that took my position. But, Charles, you deserved it, man. This guy was 6'6", 280, and could do it all. But on the other side, they brought me in to talk to this young guy. He was wild. Only thing I knew about the guy is he was 6'4". He's 250 pounds, but he ran a 4.5 40. So after I beat him in the 40, I did talk to him a little bit. So we named him Mr. D. The one thing we named Mr. D about, because he always going to get a sack. But then you come in and get another guy. See, I was able to survive Charles Mann, and they brought Steve Hamilton in, the Rock, the Hammer. He'll hammer you down. I didn't get a chance, y'all. That's why I had to have this show, because they put me out of the league early. But one thing about it, each and every one of these guys was instrumental in the Super Bowls for the Washington football team. We have a guy coming on, and we named him World Be Free. He knew a little bit about everything, but he was a world-rounded and a well-rounded player. He'll be on a little while, but right now we're going to get started. Guys, welcome to the show.
Yeah. Happy Halloween to you, Tony.
That's what I'm talking about now. I got to talk about these other people on the show. We got another Super Bowl star. I had to bring him on because the wide receiver's been playing pretty good. I've had to hear that for 20 years. We got the G-Man. Didn't you guys know how chilly it got in the room when he came on? Mess around icing us down. Gary Clark.
G-Man.
And then we talk. I want all of y'all to look back 4 weeks ago. I said, okay, this quarterback's not doing well. We need to bring in some new money. We need to bring Heineke back. Give him opportunity. One person on this show, one person that you see right now, and she wore a skirt. Oh, I didn't mean that. And she said, no, don't bring it back. This is not the quarterback. Donna Hopkins, you've been on the show for 25 years. You were wrong again. They've won 3 in a row. They on a roll. We think they're doing good, even though they're still behind. Tell me what you're seeing. Heineke's back. He's playing well. I got the Super Bowl players here. This is the GIECO show. You started off.
I see that you're not telling the truth when we get started. So I'm glad that I started off, because, Tony, I didn't say that don't bring Heineke back. He came back because it was an injury to the other quarterback. But, Tony, this is a quarterback that, struggled in that game against the Colts, but he came slinging. And one thing about Heineke is that he extends the plays with his legs, and that last drive to the winning touchdown and the passes that he threw to Cam Sims and Terry McLaurin to get this team down in position to score. That's what you look for in him. Did this offense have a good game? No, they did not. 7 points to start the game, and then they disappeared like a disappearing act. And then they came back to win this game. And Taylor Heineke did a good job down the stretch. And I'm trying to think about what are they doing on offense? Because to me, they're playing too conservative. They played not more so to lose this game instead of using his abilities and still instead of scaling back the offense, Tony. And that to me is what it looks like this offense is doing right now, and it's scaling it back because he's in there. But hey, a win is a win, Tony.
Well, you know, you go back to it, and we will stay with the offense for a few minutes here because we must talk about the defense because that's the only reason they got these 3 wins. But, G, man, I got to go with you, man. These are receivers are the real deal, man. These guys can be game breakers. These guys can be people that you hear about in the Hall of Fame like you should be.
I'll tell you what, yeah, I mean, receivers are playing well this season. T-Mac is really, doing his best to help carry the load. But I tell you what, they have sincerely 4 to 5 really good receivers on that football team. It's literally Posse 3.0, without a doubt. And hopefully they'll continue to throw them the rock, and hopefully they'll win. Because I told them when I last spoke to them, they would run the table. So I've been right for 3 weeks in a row. Hopefully it'll be 4 weeks.
I tell you what, now, let's talk to these defensive linemen because we all realize that the reason all of us have Super Bowl rings is because of us, and we just let y'all come along. But at the same time, Charles, when you look at this team offensively, we said receivers are doing well, but do you see that they're a little bit worried about their offensive line, knocking people off the ball? You do not see enough of that right now. This team needs to do more running. Don't you think so?
Well, Tony, thanks for having me on the show. Once a year, I get invited on his show, and one of these days, I'll probably take the show from him like I took. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Anyway, no.
Cut him off right now, ladies and gentlemen.
No, you know what I think? I think that the offensive coordinator should be on the hook a little bit. I'm talking about Scott Turner. I'm questioning his play calling because I really believe that we have the capability of winning most games, not all of them, but most games. But we go into, and Donna mentioned it a minute ago, saying all of a sudden we play to not lose instead of playing to win. And so you've got to look at the strengths and your weaknesses. And offensive line right now is a little bit of a weakness. They're not going to be able to pass block as long as they're expecting them to. And we have a pretty decent rushing attack, so use that. And so what happens is somehow from the first quarter and all the way to the fourth quarter, I mean, we played well in the first quarter, then all of a sudden we just kind of take a break, and then all of a sudden the play calling gets better. We start going at it like it's the last minute and we have to do something, and then we play better. And we need to play up tempo and get rid of the ball, release the ball faster. I don't blame that on Heineke or any quarterback. I blame that on the play calling gets a little suspect at times.
You know what, Dexter, and you know what, and we're going to talk defense in a little while, guys. But at the same time, Dexter, when you look at these offensive linemen, and you were one of the best pass rushers to ever do the pass rush drill, what do you see with them? Why do you think that it's very hard for them to protect the quarterback? You always analyze, and I know you and I would talk about it a lot. Is it their sets? Are they too small? Are they getting up too high, these offensive tackles? If you were playing right now, what would you do to these tackles to beat them as easy as they're being beaten?
Well, thanks, Tony, for having me on. I want to tell Charles it's not pass block. NFL term is pass protection.
Thank you, Dexter.
Can nobody block you, though?
Received.
Preach.
They have young offensive linemen. They lost the boy, went to Jacksonville. I can't think his name. Whatever his name. He was
Sheriff.
Yeah, there you go. Sheriff. Sheriff was a good offensive lineman. It's probably the best they've had here since Russ Graham. They're just not very good pass protection. They got weak tackles, and that's pretty much it.
Well, you know what? If you take a look back at it, and we kind of looking at that, he got weak tackles to guard. What we have to look at is what is this team as a whole. The running backs, though, I like them. They're a good complement to everything for the simple aspect. Not only do they run the ball well, they can catch. But this offense is just missing. Now, as you know, and Steve, when you came in, one of the things the defense always said, if you hold a team to 17 points or less, you're supposed to win that game. The defense is doing that now, but why is this offense can't seem to get the points up on the board?
Wow, that's a tough question, Tony. And again, the defense, I think, has been playing really well. I think our offense, we're in a tough division, right? I think when the season started, a lot of folks were kind of looking down on the East. And but there's some very aggressive pass rushers that we're playing against. And I think with time, hopefully we'll get better. So.
Yeah, Donna, as you look at the whole scheme and you go to each and every game, we've seen improvement. We know right now, we're getting excited for the simple aspect they have opportunity maybe to do something well. They've won 3 in a row. We didn't think they could do that. At the same time, we've seen somewhat of improvement. But overall, what do you see with this team and what do you see going with them? Now, let's not take advantage of it because we know the Giants are ahead of them. We know the other 3 teams and all that. What do you see with this team right now? And where do they need to improve if they're going to try to make the playoffs?
Well, Tony, let me go to the locker room because I think the players best sum it up on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball in what they need to do moving forward in order to catch the Giants, the Eagles, and the Cowboys.
This is a tough team, and we never count ourselves out no matter what the score is, no matter what the time is. We know defense is going to go out there and make stops. As an offense, our job is to go out there and finish the game off. I feel like we did a good job. We played together. 11 guys did what they had to do out there, and that's why we came away with the win.
This offense was struggling quite a bit in the course of the game, but down the end during the stretch came up big with this win. So just talk about that overall.
We just knew we needed to step up and make plays. The defense was helping us out big time, so we knew we needed to help the defense out.
He's like, it's on you guys. He pushed me in, get me in the end zone, and I was like, we got you. I saw those guys get low, but I made sure I got lower, and those guys did a good job on the right side, just wedging everything in. Taylor stepped around. He told me afterwards, I didn't see it, but he told me he stepped around and got right in. He said it was like half his body was in, so we did our job.
Great team win. I know, like I said last week, I'm gonna get a lot of the attention, the accolades, but Taylor giving me a chance to make another play. O-line holding up the way they did. Defense got turnovers. Tress and the special teams flipping the field. It was just a great team win, and it's not
right where we want to be, but we're definitely getting closer to where we want to be. We still got to make some improvements on consistency, not giving up cheap stuff. You got to give the coach credit.
I looked over here, and the way you were smiling, it almost tells a lot about this win today as far as how you all fought to get this win.
Yeah, it was a big win. We knew it was a big game for us. We're trying to get back to 500, trying to get, on a roll. Now we're on a 3-game win streak. We got to keep going, take it 1 week at a time. I tell the guys every day at practice, whether you win or lose, you got to come in and just go 1-0 each week. That's all that matters.
This defense came up with big play after big play. You all had 2 forced turnovers and everything. Goal line play. Was this a complete game for you all today?
No, we still got things we can correct. We still got things that we didn't do well. Even when the offense turns the ball over in our own territory, we got to hold them to 3, which we did. But we can try to get them out of field goal range if we can. And we still got things to work on. We did some good things. We did some bad things. We'll go clean it up.
I think it gets down to the point where you asked me, the offense has to step up their play because the defense is getting better each week, and the offense is not holding up their end of the bargain. And 7 points, 16 points, 17 points is not going to get it done moving ahead when they've got the Vikings and the Eagles and all of those teams coming up next.
Well, they have some good teams coming up next, and fans, we come back. We got some good talk coming up because I want to ask each of these players, on your way to the Super Bowl, tell me the funniest a moment that you'll never forget. I remember one when we finally, Dexter Manley went in there, and he was getting ready. We was playing Dallas, and we were going after Danny White. Both of us broke free. Dexter pushes me down and get the big play, and then he laughed. All right, we'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to the show. And now we get into the defensive portion. Usually each and every week, we say that we're going to get finished with Washington early in the first segment, but this time we need to talk a little bit further. This defense is finally playing up to the status that we think they should. Not saying that they're playing the best they can play, but at the same time, they look as if these are players that we can start to count on. And when we start counting on these players, we look at these players that have already been counted on. Now, Charles, I'll start with you. You tell me the defensive lineman that reminds you of yourself on that team.
No, I mean, look, these guys are their own individuals, and I don't even look to them to remind me of who I was. Heck, I don't remember who I was. It's been a long time. But no, I like the way they're playing the run, especially the two interior guys. I mean, Payne is just a beast in the middle. Sometimes they lose gap protection. I don't know if they're playing a gap defense where everybody's got a gap. It looks like they are, but I like what I see. They when they have to tamp it down and not give up anything, they seem to be able to rise to the occasion. And I like what I've been seeing in the last probably 9 quarters. I've enjoyed watching the game. They'll have a lapse here and there, but that's to be expected. I just want to see a couple of guys step up and be the leaders, be the leader that I remember Gary Clark was on our team. Guys that would yell at somebody and get somebody's attention, get in their face, and I'd like to see the coach maybe throw a chair or have some kind of emotion sometimes when the game is tight, because Ron Rivera didn't blink hardly, and I was concerned about that.
Yeah, he did stand up there with that bulldog frown on for a while, but at the same time, I guess that's where he wanted to look at it, and he wanted to be what he needs to be. Now, Dexter,
yes, sir.
Pass rush wise, do you think they're playing better now? And when their star Chase come back, do you think he should be put in there? Is he their best pass rusher? Are you seeing some of these guys right now, Dexter, are even better pass rushers?
Well, I think no question that Chase Young is probably a better football player at the defensive standpoint right now. Of course, we all know that he's hurt. And, they only got how many more games left? 6 or 7? And so it's still going to take him a while. He had knee surgery. But so much for that is that I think that what's the other guy's name over there?
Montez Sweat.
Montez Sweat.
Sweat.
I have watched many football games because I'm just kind of doing my thing. But I think they are playing much better on defense, and that's pretty much all I can say.
Well, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, we must take a pause right now. We said it was 4 of them in here. We brought in the man. We know him from he's all over the country. He's all over the world. One of the best defensive tackles ever to play the game. We talking about world be free. Darryl Grant. Welcome to the show, D.
All right.
We've been waiting 2 years. Hey, man, you look good too, man. How you feeling?
Man, 100 pounds lighter, baby. And I'm feeling good.
Okay, well, tell me now. You and Dave Butts were 2 of the best defensive tackle duels in the league at that time. Look at the 2 with the Washington team right now. Do you see any resemblance of you guys?
No. But they are hustling and they are working. But they're catching too many blocks, man. You got to get off blocks, man. You're catching too many blocks, especially in 20, in 10. You're catching too many blocks, man. They're working hard. And I like that Montez Sweat. They need Chase back out on that field to apply that dynamic pressure. And, if he's healthy, see, what tells me something is maybe he's a little more injured than what they said by him being out this long. But, hopefully he'll get back in there. And I like the front. I like the defensive line, but they got to dominate. You get three number 1 picks on your front line. We were all hodgepodge guys, 5th round pick. We got a 2nd, 3rd round pick or whatever it was, but we went and got it, man. We went for it.
Steve Hamilton, when you came in, you weren't a starter then because you had so many guys in front of you, including myself. I was the one that arranged for you to get hurt, so I didn't get cut that year.
Yeah,
you never do that. So. But at the same time, when you look at this team right here, your defensive line is only as good, not only as your starters, but it's the whole defensive line as a group. Do you see this group finally meshing?
Yeah, it looks like they're meshing pretty well. And like my comrade said a little earlier, I like Montez Sweat. I like his motor. His motor actually reminds me somewhat of Charles and Dexter's because he doesn't turn off when the play's gone. He will chase hard. And but they're definitely gelling as a team. I think interiorly, they have a solid group of guys that can play the run and obviously outside rushers also. So we see them definitely getting better. And
Donna, you've been going to each and every game. I have the linebackers improved.
Hey, Tony, but before I jump to the linebackers a little bit, and yes, Jamin Davis has improved since they threw him under the bus at the beginning of the year. But in that Colts game, they had 5-man fronts. They said that they used that a lot against the Colts. And so when you look at Daron Payne and you look at John Allen, these two guys have really played well, but the Colts were able to run right up the middle of that defense, up the gut of the defense until they made some adjustments. And then they played solid for the most part, but they gave away those big plays. But don't you like how they're playing the goal line play? Because when they needed to keep the Colts out of the end zone, they were able to do it. But the 5-man fronts, talk a little bit about that, Tony, about what they did against the Colts.
Tony, let me jump in here. I don't like the way this is going. Can I say something, please?
Please.
Let me tell you, let me educate Donna a little bit. So
Donna,
talk to me. No, I want to educate Donna a little bit.
No, I know.
Y'all ain't doing a good enough job. I want to help her a little bit. So Donna, what happens when you play a gap defense is even though those tackles could be in their gaps, there's still other gaps to be filled by linebackers or by a safety or whatever. And so a lot of times we did better as a defense when we weren't getting after it the way we should have, when we were taking blocks a little bit instead of, extending our arms and getting separation. We then ran little stunts. So a rip or a Liz, that means go to the right or go to the left, and you go to the right with a rip and your linebacker goes to the left, and then you take up both of those gaps. That way you're being more aggressive and you're not catching blocks, you're taking it to the offense, and that's when you get aggressive on your defense. I don't know if they're doing any of that, but that's what makes a defense way more aggressive if you're, as Darryl Grant said, as you're catching blocks. We don't want to be catching blocks.
Hey, Charles, thank you for that, because you know what? I threw that out there because Tony, as you said, has not been educating us well on this. I mean, we have to bring in some other defensive players to educate a little bit more because he wasn't doing his job very well.
There's only so much you can teach a basketball player. Okay, with that being said, G, I'm going to tell you what, you used to look at your people, G, and you do your defensive backs, and you guys, we did this with the offensive line and everything, and when you look at our defensive backs, you know, it looks to me as if double moves seem to give them a trouble. They seem to bite on the first move a lot. If you were playing against them, is that what you would try to do?
I would double move all day long, Tony. I mean, if you're going to bite on my first move, then I'm going to definitely double move you. And then I'm going to triple move you after that, because then I'm going to come back and run what you thought I was going to run in the first place. So, I mean, our defensive backs have got better, though, because at the end of the day, when you score 18 points or less, I mean, actually 17 points or less, you win football games. It's just that simple. We all know that. We're fortunate that our defense many times kept our opponent to 17 points or less. They did a great job. And quite honestly, if they'd have done that early on in the year, we'd be undefeated right now.
When we come back, one thing we're going to have to do is we got to talk a little special teams, because as you know, you guys are Super Bowl individuals, and you know that each facet of the team is important. We haven't talked about them a lot. We just have one guy, Tress, that is always our MVP. When we get a chance in the second half, we'll talk a little bit to Brian Mitchell about what he thought he brought to the team. But right now, when we come back in the moment, we got to start talking about the rest of the East. It seems like the East are the beasts of the East again, and this team has to work its way back in. So we'll take a small break right now, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Now, as you say in the standings in the East, right now the East seems to be the best conference that's going on right now. But we know Dallas, we know Philadelphia, we know the Giants. The Giants, they started to look like the Giants last week. But what we have to look at the Washington team, what are they going to do? And guys, you know right now, the East, when we were there, we were the beasts of the East. Tell me what you guys are seeing with this team. And tell me about the East. Who do you think's the odds-on favorite is?
It's those birds up in Philadelphia flying high, 6-0 right now. Tony, I told you in the beginning of the season, Tony, that would be the team to watch out. But did you listen to me? No, you didn't. But it's kind of like wide open. But that's the team to beat right now, Tony, because the Giants went down and Dallas got their quarterback back.
Well, Darryl, why would I listen to you and you only half the time right? And we're not even halfway in the season, so you got a good chance to be wrong again. What were you saying, Charles?
I'm just wondering, Donna, what makes the Eagles so good? Is it their mobile quarterback? Is it their left-handed quarterback? Is it their players? What is it?
Running back. They got a running game, solid receivers, great defensive line, great offensive line. They're the most complete team in the whole NFL right now.
Well, you know what? We must be in a running play. I see Dexter not in there. You know, in the game, he wouldn't be in the running plays on a lot of times. But it's the same time.
They didn't pay him to make tackles, Tony. That's why I'm all broke up right now, and Dexter ain't got no problems with nothing.
Tell the fans what you're saying. Okay, hey, Darryl, you said something about Mr. D got all the sacks, but you had to do all the. What happened? Tell me about that.
No, man, Dex did his thing, man. But it was cool because it worked out because I understood how he played the game. You know, once I understood how Dex was, he did say what Charles just said. He said they don't pay me to make. They pay me to make sacks. And that was his mentality. So I knew when I came to the line and I knew what I saw, I knew what he would see. And I said, I know what he's going to do. So I just adjusted around him and just played off of him, which was beautiful.
You know, Dexter, you know that we just messing with you anyway, but at the same time, I want to ask you.
No, we telling the truth.
I just want to ask you about this feeling. When you blocked that pass, and you made the big hit in our NFC Championship games.
Yes.
What feeling? And you know what? Those are great plays that players never get the opportunity to feel or do. Do you still have that feeling from that? What was your feeling when that happened? I mean, if you had not blocked that last pass, and Darryl Grant cleaned it up like he always and ran it in for a touchdown, but those were the two biggest plays of the game, Dex. Do you still think about them?
No, I don't, but I just know that, being from Houston, Texas, and most of my people, they love the Dallas Cowboys, and very few didn't like the Washington Redskins. They liked their cousin and their brothers, and they liked me. But overall, they were rooting for the Dallas Cowboys. And so for me making those plays, it solidified that we were the America's team, and we had players to make plays, such as myself. And so I don't hardly give too much thought about it. I just know that those were big plays. And there were plays like when Kenny Houston stopped him on the 1 yard line, 1978.
Wow. But isn't it good to see the East back? And G, you haven't had a lot to say, but you're looking at the East right now, and they all odds on favor. Maybe we can say they are not. It's halfway through, but I'm gonna tell you what. Right now, I don't think the East is coming out. I tell you right now, if all the players in San Francisco stay well, all of you better watch that team. But within the East, Do you think Philadelphia is better than any of the rest or far above? Or do you think now that Dallas got Dak back, that they'll be right back in the middle of it?
Commanders the best team in the NFC East. Commanders.
Hello.
Commanders. They're going to run the table. I said it here. You heard me. They're going to run the table.
Why, Gary? Give me some. I know a couple of key players, but why do you think?
Because those key players that we all know are now stepping up to the task and now asking to do what's necessary to win football games. When you played, you knew Dexter never had a problem. At the end of the day, he was going to do something, whether the coach told him to do it or not to do it. He was going to do what was necessary to make the play. Charles was the same way. He was going to do what's necessary to make the play. Those guys now have leadership on their team now that understand that sometimes you have to go against what the coaches are telling you because you know best, because you're the actual player out there playing the game. And with them doing that now, they're starting to win football games.
Let's circle back around. Okay, you said those players, but we still talking about the quarterback, and we're still talking about Scott Turner, as Charles Mann talked about earlier, as far as his play calling. And then you look at this schedule moving forward. It doesn't get easier for this Commanders team. So you're confident. You're telling me you're confident in the quarterback all the way to the end of the season.
Yes, because as a receiver, I'm going to tell the quarterback to throw me the rock. I'm going to tell you, because at the end of the day, you as a player, at some point in time, you have to be willing to put the team on your back to do what you need to do. Just like the next leader on your team will put the team on their back and do what they need to do. Because sometimes you have to carry the team. It's just what it is. There's many times where Charles carried the team. Many times where Dexter carried the team. Many times where Art, Ricky, and myself carried the team. Many times where the quarterbacks carried the team. Because at some point in time, you have to make the decision to make the right play. That 87 championship game against the Vikings, man, Doug, we didn't run the play that they called. I was supposed to run a corner route. I ran a hook route because that's what was necessary to win the football game.
Hey,
we don't run that play. We don't go to the show.
But you know what? And one thing, Gary, and you fans should listen and keep talking about the team. So it's another facet we keep just forgetting about is that special teams aspect. And Donna, when you were at the alumni up there, you got a chance to talk to some special team players, and they feel like they're important in this part of the maybe going to the NFC East finals.
Yeah, Tony, Brian Mitchell, we know he's one of the greats, should be in the Hall of Fame, but he talked about how important special teams is for a team to go all the way. And this is going to be key for this Washington Commanders team. So let's go hear what he has to say. You know, he has a lot to say.
Brian set the tone after Mike Nims and everything of what special team punt returner should be. And just talk about you, Brian, and you taking on that role and you perfecting it. And he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, I was a quarterback from 8th grade all the way through, and then I get to the NFL, and I'm told by Wayne Severe the only way you're going to make this team being a return guy. And, you know, I lived my life saying return guys are crazy. You know, you're looking at the air, somebody coming down to hit you, and I quickly realized that I was crazy. And I loved it because my first, like I had said already, depending on how my first few games went in preseason, I was probably going to go to Canada and play quarterback. But you return your first kick for a touchdown, and I begin to feel good about it. You know, and I find myself now researching Mike Nims, Joe Howard Johnson, Walter Stanley were on the team, watching Mel Gray film, because that success made me want to do it. And I fell in love with it. And then once I got that love for it, the rest is history, because, you know, I wasn't going to let my teammates down. I wanted to be the best that ever did it, you know. Never thought about Hall of Fame, none of this type of stuff. I just wanted to be the best guy every time. When I went on the football field, if it was another return guy, I made it a personal battle against him. If another guy wore number 30, I was going to be the best number 30 that day. And that's just the way it was for me. And I think I got that from watching these guys. Ernest Biner, I thank Ernest for like everything, because Ernest was a guy who would teach me football, but then have me come to his house and would talk to me about being a man. And you know, a lot of people would say, well, Brian was this, Brian was that, but when Ernest spoke, I stopped talking, I listened. And because I saw how successful he was, I watched him with that fumble, but I watched what he did after the fumble. See, people always worry about people want to tell you about the stumbles in your life. They don't want to say anything about what you did after it. And what Ernest did after him is show me he was a special guy. So I took everything he said and tried to become the best I could be.
You said something important. You did your homework on former punt returners. You listened to a great running back that gave you some life lessons on and off the field. So if you could pick a story from being back here with these guys, what is one of the greatest stories that you've heard since since the alumni has been coming back?
Since we all been coming back, I think the one story that comes up for a lot of the guys on the Super Bowl 26 team is the Buffalo Bills were talking about our offensive line, calling them big fat pigs. They were called the Hogs for a reason. They were that damn good. And we got so physical in practice that Coach Gibbs had to stop practice. And I know today when you watch football today, there's no practice like that. I think we were harder. We played harder in that practice all week. He had to stop practice because Mark Rippon got his ankle rolled up. And we had to stop practice. He said, if we keep practicing like this, we're not going to have anybody to play. It just shows you how important it was for us. They were talking trash about the Hogs, but every player took it personal. And we went that much harder in practice. And when that game started, it was 37-24. It wasn't that close. We went out there and showed them, you came in here expecting, it was going to be like some tapping. We turned it into a fist fight.
Hall of Fame. What does it mean for you if you make it there, and do you think you deserve to get there?
I think I deserve to be there, but the whole thing about it's going to come down to whoever's going to make the decision, and I think my resume is as good as anybody out there that ever did the job I did. I don't have to be judged against Emmitt Smith. I don't have to be judged against Joe Montana. Tell me a return guy in the history of this game that has done as much as I did. Devin Hester, I believe he should be in the Hall of Fame. But Devin was Barry Sanders. I was Jerome Bettis. They're both in the Hall of Fame. Why we both can't be there?
And you hear that? He doesn't have to be compared to anybody. Just look at his stats and what he did for the game. And that's big.
330, check it out.
There you go.
Hey, Charles, you said that you love chasing down Brian Mitchell in practice.
Yeah, Brian, look, I have an arm that doesn't go completely straight. And the reason why it doesn't, because in practice, I clotheslined Brian one time and he ran through my arm, which gave me a bone spur. And my elbow has never been the same. But even in the 1988 Super Bowl practices going after Reggie Branch, Steve's buddy, Reggie was he was irritating. He was aggravating. The Joker would run through. He would take our defensive backs and he'd run them over. And so I remember hunting him down in practice, and we were told to back off a little bit because we were going at it so hard in practice, but Joe Gibbs loved that. He loved to see us practice that hard. He loved to have Madden and Summerall tell him how hard we practice. We're the hardest practicing team he's ever seen.
But when I listen to these stories and I listen, Steve, we're gonna bring you in because you're the young pup in here. And when you came in, you've heard all these stories before. After we take the break, we have to talk about what's up next. And what we're looking at right now, we're talking about the East. But if you look over the whole NFL, everything is changing. You guys are defensive linemen. You can look at all these older quarterbacks now, and the quarterbacks have to be more mobile and everything now. So when let's talk about how this league is changing, what a team will have to possess to get to the Super Bowl, and does this team have it in the moment?
Dumbbell pull, work on our back. Up, down. I want you to pause and squeeze. Come down slow with it. Nice extension. Bring it back. Some people like to be like this on the edge and hold it, and it's harder. That's cool, but it's more pressure on your hand, on your shoulder. I'd rather be like this and relax and get all you can. And then squeeze. So you'll go 30 on both arms and you switch. Because you are an advanced person, I don't want you to alternate. I want you to do 30 on that side, rest 15 and 30 again, and then you switch up. All right? Squeeze. Looking like a champ. That's what I'm talking about. Squeeze. Squeeze.
You don't know nothing, Tony.
Working that back. See, Tony wouldn't be able to do this right here, man.
Yeah,
I had to get a little 5-pounder for his butt over there. What is that?
Hey, yeah, Rick, you better get Tony a lighter weight.
This is Tony weight here. Show him.
Tony, this is your weight.
That's your weight.
This is real people's weight.
There you go.
Why is it important to get the backs strong and everything?
Your back is involved with everything that you do. It needs to be just like your stomach, your core. It needs to be strong for when you swinging a golf club, when you picking up something, when you bending down. That back takes its load when you carrying something. So that back needs to be strong.
Well, another great fitness piece from Ricky, trying to tell Tony he has to get past that 5-pound weight. Tony, it's in your hands.
Oh, you was out of breath. You talking about you in shape. I'm gonna have to reevaluate you. You be talking that game. See, you just young in the game here. We vets, man. You know what we talking about? And speaking of vets, Steve, we ain't gave you a lot of time, but when you came in, what did you think about us, man? I mean, I remember me and you had conversations stuff. I don't know how I could talk to the man that took my job, but at the same time, you was a good kid. And all these things we saying, you knew that we hated Dallas. You knew that you had to be part of the team as a great pass rusher and on special teams. What was your feeling? What do you feel you gave for the Super Bowl team?
Well, first and foremost, I played with a great defensive line, right? When you're talking about Charles, Dexter, Butts, World Be Free, and on, right? So I learned a lot from those guys, and we definitely never left anything on the table. I was really fortunate because I played from a nickel perspective on the left side and the right side, so I got to do a lot of stunts with Charles and Dexter, and I think we had a lot of fun doing that. So that was basically it, just play with some really great defensive linemen that actually were serious about the craft. When it was game time, we didn't care what city we went into. We went in to win, and whether we were playing at home or on the road. So that was a great experience, something that I'll never forget.
You defensive lineman, as you look around the league right now, and I want to get this in this segment for sure, and you look at the older quarterbacks right now, it look like the game is passing them by. The Brady's, you look at the Rodgers, you look at all these old stand-up quarterbacks, and now if a quarterback doesn't have mobility, they can't play in this league right now. Since we're talking about Super Bowl, and this is the Super Bowl defensive lineman, tell me what you think about the new quarterback. I know they will not last long, but is this the future right now? Any of you great defensive linemen?
Yeah, let me just jump in real quick and just say this. Do you remember when Randall Cunningham was out there playing?
Yeah.
And they were complaining about he was so mobile and he was looking to run and he wasn't looking down the field and blah 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 blah. And they were the league, and may I say the world, wasn't ready for a black quarterback to dominate. And now, if you're not mobile, like you just said, then you're not going to make it in this league. Isn't it funny how times have changed?
And the other thing you got to be is young, because Father Time ain't never lost a game. At the same time, Dex.
Ever.
Right now, and I look at this, and one thing that's going to be key with the quarterbacks is these older quarterbacks can't get outside. The younger ones can. I notice all the defensive linemen nowadays, they don't look at trying to contain anything. All they're worried about is getting to the quarterback. Even though you were a big quarterback, man, you knew you had to contain that outside to make this team successful, correct?
Correct. I want to back up to what Charles said. See, I think that if a quarterback runs so much, you're not going to make $300 or $400 million because you're not going to last that long. You look at people like Peyton Manning, even Tom Brady, he's the worst, but when he finished up, he appeared made about $400 million. So the point I'm saying is that it ain't good for a quarterback to be running like Kyler Murray. He might not last that long. He might not make that kind of money. But if you stay in the pocket, you're going to make a lot of money if you win. And so, Tony, what you said is that I don't really know what you said. Will you repeat that again?
I was saying...
It was irrelevant.
I was saying that the defensive linemen now, they have to worry more about containment As they did have to do that with Brady and all of them, but now these young quarterbacks, they get outside and it breaks down the whole play, the whole defense. So what I'm
They
saying is,
get paid.
it's a defensive
Getting
pass
paid.
rush.
They getting paid. They're getting paid.
But yeah, exactly. But do you think that's good, world? Now you know what I mean. You got a good rush inside, and Dexter don't keep that outside secured. That quarterback's going to get outside.
No, you have to have contained. You have to have contained by all means necessary. You know, but that's just how it goes. But these cats are getting paid, man. They're getting paid fully in full. 1 year's salary on one of these cats, they can go home forever. What are you gonna do? Fire me and let me go home rich?
Darryl, but I try to put myself in these guys' shoes. I can't put myself there, but I try to do that because I wonder if you give me the Greyhound dogs that raced, they chased a rabbit, right? And they never got the rabbit. And I'm saying to you all now, you get the rabbit. And I wonder if I got the rabbit, would I actually run? I don't know how good I would have been in this day and age playing at this level where you get the $50 million, the $100 million contract. I don't know if I'd play real hard.
You said, what you said was in this day and age, and you're appropriate for saying that. Back in the day, we were hustling for every nickel we tried to get.
Yes. So, would you hunt now? Would this dog hunt?
Well, you can look at the analogy in two different ways.
People always say, "Well, you'd be worth about $300 million right now. You'd be worth this, that." I don't want to hear that. That don't make nothing. That don't make me feel no better. I worked for $35,000, man. I was trying to get it.
And you know what? Hey, fans, you may say, well, what are these guys talking about? We talking about because we didn't get paid the way we should have got paid. They pay guys here for potential. We got paid for playing. The one thing about it, when you look at this in a defensive end, it's supposed to contain the outside. He breaks the whole defense down as he done. These players now, all they want to do is get to the quarterback and point to themselves. At the same time, you look at these guys. That's why all of them are presenting Super Bowl rings. That's why this team, if they're going to be good, they got to get containment. We can't have their best pass rusher coming and going inside and falling and letting the quarterback get outside. We got to have pressure up the middle. It has to be consistent. This is the one thing. When you look at this defensive line here, we've done some joking and everything, but you got some guys right here that play better than the guys that's on the field. And I know one thing about it. If you ever want to be a Super Bowl player, listen to these guys. I told you last week, you run around here with your nose all snotty. If you don't know what you're doing, ask somebody. We'll be back in a moment.
Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus Speakers Bureau offers you various opportunities to connect with former and current players along with Tony and the crew. For more information, go to redmagplus.com Speakers Bureau.
Well, you see the picks up. I went 5-0 last week. These are the games this week. But I want to also talk about this. We talked about Brian Mitchell as far as the Hall of Fame, but this panel right here, many of these guys, most of them should be in the Hall of Fame, considered to be in the Hall of Fame. So Tony, is back in your hands.
Well, each guy, I want you to give me a 30-second of your best Super Bowl memory.
Well, I don't have a Super Bowl memory. We played the Raiders in 1983 at RK Stadium, and we were coming down to the wire. And I remember Joe Washington caught a good pass from Joe Theismann right inside the end zone, and we won that game. It was like 36-37 or something. That was my fondest memory of the Washington football team, how we came back and we beat the Raiders, and then we beat them in the Super Bowl.
Hey, we didn't beat him in the Super Bowl, Dexter. You forgot I had 3 sacks in that game. That's why you didn't like it. Charles, give me a 30-second. give me a 30-second memory.
All right, mine is after that same Super Bowl. I remember the Raiders were staying in this nice, luxurious hotel, and we were staying at the Holiday Inn. Not dog in the Holiday Inn, but I am. And then we practiced at a high school stadium, and they practiced at a college stadium in Tampa. And then we were bussing it in and out of the place, and then we got into the Super Bowl, and they had our number, and they beat us down. And in that game, I went in for Dexter. I was backing Dexter up that year, my rookie year, and I remember Dexter saying, "Hey, if I look over at you and I throw my hand up, you come in there." I said, "Okay." Now, I didn't talk to Torgy Torgerson about it. I just talked to Dexter. So Dexter threw his hand up because he was getting wore out, getting the double team on him. So I came in there and I stuffed the run on the double team, and Marcus Allen reversed field and went 75 yards for a Super Bowl touchdown. And Dexter said, "Hey, I wasn't in there."
G-Man, give me a quick one, G.
Dexter was not in there when it happened. He's absolutely right. I was in there.
Well, I'm not going to talk about the Super Bowl. What I will talk about is this panel here. What I do know, no matter how much money anybody on this panel would have made, we would have played hard. We would have played to win. That's just how we're built. We're built to win. We're not – the money part's great no matter what, but this team, no matter if you paid me $1 billion, you still would have got 100% of GC. Same day with Charles, same way with Dexter, same day with World, same day with Steve. You would have got 100% because we're just built that way.
I'm glad you didn't say me because I don't know.
Yeah.
I need the money. Hey,
You got about a minute to go, Tony.
Huh?
Give me a quick one, World.
World B.
Be free.
Oh, one of my best Super Bowl memories is when Bostic broke his right hand, and I wasn't ready to go, but I always went out with specialists, every game anyway, because that's what I did. I was offensive lineman in the center. And he came over to me. He said, "World," he said, "I can snap to Doug, but I can't snap extra points and field goals in that San Diego game. I do what I do."
And you snapped?
Ham.
I don't remember that. Oh, man.
You got about
Crazy.
30 seconds.
Gotcha. So, one of my best memories of the Super Bowl was actually having a week when we first got out there without any curfew, and I think we painted the town pretty good. And after that, we had a really smooth practices, and the end result was
It was a roller brush.
Okay, now I'm gonna give you my quick one as I go out, and I'll tell you one thing about just being there was my best memory. George Stark forgot to go in after Riggle scored the touchdown, so I went in at offensive tackles. I played both ways.
Wow.
When you go both ways, you're one of the best. And as I said, next week we'll have an alumni show of the best. We never say goodbye. We say in the minute.
You gotta be true.